I'm Chris Carter of the Locked On Steelers podcast, and your Pittsburgh Steelers have won 23-19 here at Acrisure Stadium against the Green Bay Packers in another crazy last-second finish that advances the team to 6-3. Now, let's talk about some of the factors in this game. The run game coming alive, not just one, but two drives in the first quarter to open the game, lead to touchdowns. A lot of that from the ground game, the offensive line and the Steelers running backs. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 82 yards with a touchdown, but also Jaylen Warren, 15 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. The team totaled over 200 yards of rushing this game. Broderick Jones called earlier in the week for that to happen, and it happened. And when we asked the Steelers in the locker room about what was the difference there, a lot of the guys were talking about the meetings that they've been having between the offensive line and the running backs. They've started to lead to more progress, seeing what guys like and what guys like to do differently. We'll talk more about that in depth on the full Monday episode that'll come out late Sunday night. But can't have to also talk about this defense. There's a big injury to the Steelers. Quan Alexander out for the season with an Achilles injury. That's huge. That's now back-to-back weeks. The Steelers have lost two starting linebackers, leaving Landon Roberts, who played a fantastic game in my opinion. He's going to be the only guy out there. Mark Robinson is going to have to play a lot more football unless the Steelers go and get another veteran that's somewhere in free agency right now. The trade deadline's passed, and these injuries could not have come at a worse time for the Steelers to try to make such an adjustment. But Steelers make a lot of second-half adjustments. In the first half, they give up two touchdowns in the secondary, both from miscommunications, and DeMonte KZ was very open about that problem after the game. He said, we have to be better. We have to communicate better. We have to communicate at a higher level, and it seemed like he was very much stressing that. And part of it, he kind of let it out a little bit, but didn't talk too much about it. He said, a lot of the guys that are out there that are new and trying to fill in, guys that they have because they have so many replacements, and I think part of this is Mark Robinson at linebacker, because both the linebackers are normally major communicators for the Steelers. Now you have a guy out there that's still figuring that part of the game out in Robinson, and that impacts the game. But also you have other guys in the secondary coming in and safeties coming in that haven't played much for the Steelers. That's going to have an impact on things. So you look at that as a whole, and there's communication breakdowns a lot, and that has led to some serious problems in the Steelers secondary. But what you cannot ignore is that this team does make second-half adjustments. They allow two touchdowns in the first half. They get two interceptions in the second half, including the final one by DeMonte KZ to close out the game. Keanu Neal getting the other one off a tip pass from Patrick Peterson, who I thought might have played his best game of the season, locking down Christian Watson on multiple plays. Watson finished with 2 catches on 7 targets for 23 yards. Really good showing there. Kenny Pickett in the passing offense, not much of a factor. They had a couple moments where they connected on some okay passes, and Deontay Johnson had a really bad drop, but you definitely want to see more from them. But still, 23 points from this offense, I think it was an important showing in this game. They needed it against this team, and they find a way to win another close game down to the wire. But again, that the secondary and the defense being able to make adjustments, huge for this Pittsburgh Steelers team to find ways to win even in tough moments. Joey Porter Jr. playing pretty well in my opinion. Keanu Neal getting that interception. DeMonte KZ getting that interception. And the communication factor improving late in the game to help the Steelers close Jordan Love and the Packers out. Now, the key things moving forward, what do the Steelers do at linebacker? Also, can this run game be replicated? Because one thing we know is that there's a lot of complaints about this Packers defense from their fans because they don't like Joe Barry the same way Steelers fans don't like Matt Canada. Matt Canada looks like he kind of won out in this instance, but this needs to be replicated. We'll talk more about how they replicate that on the full episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. I'm standing right here in Acrisure Stadium now. Got to pack things up, do some editing work. But when I do get back, we're going to have a full episode with you guys for the Monday episode. And, of course, we'll have our Stars and Skulls grades for Tuesday coming out later this week. Stay tuned for all of that, here and more on the Locked On Steelers podcast.